This is Yehoshua's Daf Yomi Shiur, where the Daf continues daily until the complete revelation of Mashiach ben David, Messiah, the son of David. Today we'll be studying Tractate Chullin, page 109, starting with 109a. I recently signed up with Buy Me a Coffee, so if you like the work that I do and would like to support it, there is a link at the bottom, and thank you for your contribution if you feel led to contribute. And we will proceed with the Daf, the daily Daf. It starts in the top of the page with Miklal de Rabbi Yehuda Savar. Miklal de Rabbi Yehuda Savar, ki ni'ar mitchila v'ad sof, v'chisa mitchila v'ad sof, asur amai. The Gemara objects from Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi's acceptance of Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Only when one did not stir or cover the pot, one can conclude by inference that Rabbi Yehuda himself maintains that even when one stirred the contents of the pot continuously from beginning to end, meaning before and after the drop of milk was absorbed, or covered the pot continuously from beginning to end, all the contents of the pot are prohibited. But why should this be so? The first piece of meat did not absorb any more milk than the others, since the milk definitely diffused evenly through the pot immediately. It should be nullified, assuming that the pot's contents amount to more than 60 times the milk. The Gemara objects. Say that Rabbi Yehuda is stringent because one might not have stirred thoroughly, or he might not have covered the pot thoroughly, and therefore initially the milk might have been absorbed only by the first piece, rendering it prohibited. Afterward, when he does stir thoroughly, that piece of meat renders the other pieces prohibited. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi does not share this concern. Amar mar v'divrei chacham kishnier v'chiso ma'inier u'ma'kiso ile manier v'sov v'lonier v'tchila v'chiso v'sov v'lonier kisa v'tchila ha'amuret nirin divrei Yehuda baham elonier v'tchila v'sov v'chiso v'tchila v'sov. The Gemara returns to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi's statement. The master said above, and the statement of the rabbis appears correct in a case where one stirred the pot and covered it. The Gemara asks, what is the meaning of the term stirred and what is the meaning of the term covered? If we say that he stirred at the end, after the first piece absorbed the milk, and did not stir at the beginning beforehand, and likewise he covered at the end and did not cover at the beginning, one may respond, didn't you already say on the previous Amud that the statement of Rabbi Yehuda appears to be correct in this case? Rather, it must be a case where he stirred continuously from beginning to end, or covered the pot continuously from beginning to end. Miklal d'Rabanan Savri, ni'er basoi v'loi ni'er batchilo, kisa basoi v'loi kisa batchila muto. If so, one can conclude by inference from Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi's qualified acceptance of the rabbi's opinion that the rabbis themselves maintain that even when one stirred only at the end and did not stir at the beginning, and similarly if he covered the pot only at the end and did not cover at the beginning, all the contents of the pot are permitted. All the contents of the pot are permitted. Even the first piece is permitted, as they hold that the milk is absorbed, diffused out of it and throughout the pot. Evidently, the rabbis maintain that an item that can be run to remove the forbidden substance is permitted. This illustrates that Tanaim dispute this issue, as according to Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, an item that can be wrung to remove the forbidden substance is prohibited. Amar le Ravacha midifti le Ravino. Dimai def shel sochoto bligi, dilmai shel sochoto divrei kol aso, v'hacha b'min no meflegi, v'Rabbi Yehuda l'tameh, diamar min b'min u'lebatil, v'Rabbanan l'tameh yudiam, min b'min u'lebatil, Rav Achav Difti said to Ravina, from where is it derived that Rabbi Yehuda and the rabbis disagree with regard to an item that can be wrong? Perhaps even if an item can be wrong, everyone agrees that it remains prohibited. And here they disagree with regard to whether a type of food mixed with food of its own type can be nullified. And Rabbi Yehuda conforms to his standard line of reasoning, as he said that a type of food mixed with food of its own type cannot be nullified. And likewise the rabbis conform to their standard line of reasoning, as they said that a type of food mixed with food of its own type can be nullified. This is why they maintain that all the meat in the pot is permitted. Hi, my. I amret bishlomet Rabbanan bemin bemin oy hoch Rabbi Yehuda sevir lehu. Uve'efshel esocha topligi hainu dekaomer Rabbi niren divrei Rabbi Yehuda beha b'divrei chachamim beha. Rabbeinu responded, what is this reasoning? Granted, if you say that the rabbis here hold in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda with regard to the issue of a type of food mixed with food of its own type, and they disagree with regard to an item that can be wrong, that is why Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi says the statement of Rabbi Yehuda appears to be correct in this case when one did not initially stir or cover the pot, and the statement of the rabbis appears to be correct in that case when one did initially stir or cover it, since the issue of when one stirred or covered the pot is relevant to the dispute as explained above. Ela iamrit efshel sochato divrei kol asur v'hacha bemin beminoy kamifligi ha'nirin divrei Rabbi Yehuda ve'nirin boilei v'suloi midi. But if you say everyone agrees that an item that can be wrong is prohibited, and here they disagree only with regard to a type of food mixed with food of its own type, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi should not phrase his statement as a qualified acceptance of both opinions, which seems arbitrary. Rather, he should have said this: I accept that a type of food is not nullified by a food of its own type. Therefore, the statement of Rabbi Yehuda appears correct where one did not stir initially, as the flavor of the prohibited first piece cannot be nullified, but it does not appear correct when one stirred immediately, since in that case even the first piece is not prohibited. And I do not share Rabbi Yehuda's concern that perhaps one did not stir thoroughly, and nothing more need be said. That concludes the Talmud for that, and we start a new Mishnah at the bottom of 109a, continuing on to 109b. Zog the Heilige Mishnah. I mean, says the Holy Mishnah. That's the way they say it, and that's how it goes. That's how they say it. Zog the Heilige Mishnah. Hakechal koiroi umatzies chelboi loy karoi einoi oiver alov. Halev koiroi umatzies domoi loy karoi einoi oiver alov. The Mishnah says one who wants to eat the udder of a slaughtered animal tears it and removes its milk, and only then is it permitted to cook it. And if he did not tear the udder before cooking it, he does not violate the prohibition against cooking and eating meat and milk, and does not receive lashes for it. As the halachic status of the milk and the udder is not that of milk, it's utterly parv, or is it fleshik? We'll see. One who wants to eat the heart of a slaughtered animal tears it and removes its blood, and only then may he cook it and eat it. If he did not tear the heart before cooking and eating it, he does not violate the prohibition against consuming blood, and is not liable to receive karet for it. That's the Mishnah. Now we turn on to 109b, top of the page. We start the Talmud with the words Amar Rabbi Zera. Amar Rav. We're on the top of 109b now. Amar Rabbi Zera, Amar Rav, Enoi V'alamutom. Onantanan, Enoi V'alam Mebal. Hu Diraval. Ha'isur Ha'ikam. The Mishnah teaches that if one did not tear the udder of a slaughtered animal before cooking it, he does not violate the biblical prohibition against eating meat and milk. Rabbi Zera says that Rav says he does not violate the prohibition, and it is altogether permitted to eat the cooked product ab initio, that means to begin with, meaning right away. The Gemara objects, but didn't we learn in the Mishnah he does not violate the prohibition, meaning he is not held liable after the fact? One can infer from here as follows: he does not violate a prohibition by Torah law, but there is nevertheless a prohibition ab initio by rabbinic law, meaning if he did it, then the Torah doesn't stick anything to him. But he shouldn't do it just because he wants to. Meaning there would be some rabbinic prohibition against it. Okay. Badinu b'yisuranami lekav yadin v'ayla b'yisniseva halev goyor ma'asis d'mayla goyin avelav has mibao hu elovao. The Gemara explains, by right the Mishnah should have taught that there is no prohibition here by rabbinic law either. But the Tana of the Mishnah uses this language since he wants to teach the latter clause. One who wants to eat the heart of the slaughtered animal and tears it and removes its blood. But if he did not tear the heart before cooking and eating it, he does not violate the prohibition. There is true that although he does not violate the prohibition by Torah law, there is a prohibition by rabbinic law to preserve linguistic symmetry. He teaches the first clause in this matter as well, stating he does not violate the prohibition. Leima misaya le hakechal koiro umoitzi eschel bo lo koro eno oiver alav halev korao umotzi estamo lo korao korao dachal bishulo mutam. Leiv hu de vaikriya aval kechalo vaikriya. The Gemara suggests, let us say that the following Braita supports this opinion. One who wants to eat the udder of a slaughtered animal tears it and removes its milk. If he did not tear the udder before cooking it, he does not violate the prohibition against cooking and eating meat and milk, and does not receive lashes for it. One who wants to eat the heart of a slaughtered animal tears it and removes its blood. If he did not tear the heart before cooking and eating it, he tears it after its cooking, and it is permitted. One can infer from the Braita that it is only the heart that requires tearing after cooking it if it was not torn beforehand. But the udder does not require tearing after being cooked unlawfully. Evidently, it is permitted as is. Dilma leiv hudasagi leibekhiavol kichalu sagi leibekhion. The Gemara rejects this. Perhaps one should infer the opposite. The tearing after cooking is sufficient only to render the heart permitted, as the heart does not absorb blood through cooking. But tearing after cooking is not sufficient to render the udder permitted, as the meat of the udder absorbs the milk through cooking, and tearing will not remove the absorbed milk. V'ika de amri, omer Rabbi Zero, omer Rav, eino yoiver alov, v'yosor lemo misayeh alei, eino yoiver alov, minimedhu nilo yovar, ha'isura iko. And some say a different version of the above exchange. Based on a different version of Rav's statement, Rabbi Zera says that Rav says, if one does not tear the udder of a slaughtered animal before cooking it, he does not violate the Torah prohibition, but it is prohibited to eat the cooked product by rabbinic law. The Gemara suggests, let us say that the Mishnah supports this opinion, as it states he does not violate the prohibition, indicating that although he does not violate the Torah prohibition and is not flogged, there is nevertheless a prohibition by rabbinic law. V'dinu d'isuradami leko aydidi boile misni seifo. Halel koi roi moitzi es do moilo koi roi eino oiver alov hasum di mebo. Hu de lo yoba isura iko tonanami reish eino oiver alov. The Gemara responds, by right the Mishnah should have taught that there is not even a prohibition by rabbinic law. But the Tana of the Mishnah uses this language since he wants to teach the latter clause. One who wants to eat the heart of a slaughtered animal tears it and removes its blood. But If he did not tear the heart before cooking and eating it, he does not violate the prohibition for it. There, it is true that although he does not violate a Torah prohibition, there is a prohibition by rabbinic law. He therefore teaches in the first clause in this manner as well, stating he does not violate the prohibition for it. The Gemara suggests, coming here a proof from a Braita, one who wants to eat the udder of a slaughtered animal, and he tears it and removes its milk. If he did not tear the udder before cooking it, he does not violate the prohibition for it. One who wants to eat the heart of a slaughtered animal tears it and removes its blood. If he did not tear the heart before cooking and eating it, he tears it after his cooking, and it is permitted. One can infer from the Braita that it is only the heart that requires tearing after cooking, if it was not torn beforehand. But the udder does not require tearing after being cooked unlawfully. Evidently, it is permitted as is. The Gemara rejects this. Perhaps one should infer the opposite, that tearing after cooking is sufficient only to render the heart permitted, as the heart does not absorb blood through cooking, but tearing it after cooking is not sufficient to render the udder permitted, as the meat of the udder absorbs the milk through cooking, and tearing will not remove the absorbed milk. This concludes the second version of the Gemara's discussion. Tanya Kilishna Kam Derav Shibishno Bichalva Mutar Keva Shibishno Bichalva Asu. The Gemara comments that it's Tana Braita in accordance to the first version of Rav's statement, and udder that one cooked, meaning roasted, and its milk is permitted. By contrast, the stomach of a suckling lamb or a calf that one cooked, meaning roasted together with the milk it contains, is prohibited. It is prohibited for consumption. The Braita explains, what is the distinction between this stomach and that udder? The milk this calf suckled was considered milk the moment it left the mother's teat. It's funny to see it here. Yeah, it means the udder left the mother's thing, and it was merely collected in the calf's innards. But that milk in the udder is not defined as milk, since it was never collected in the animal's innards from outside, but is found in the flesh. Consequently, this meat of the udder is not prohibited if it is roasted with the milk it contains, although one should still tear it by rabbinic law. Abineshiyah. Keitzat koiroi. Amar Yehuda kadosh ti ve'erev. V'tachai b'koisel. Amar le'Rav Elazar l'shamai. Kali ve'eno echol. Mai kamash melon. Masnisen hi. Ha kamash melon. D'lo be'enan shti ve'erev. V'tachai b'koisel. The Gemara inquires, how must one tear an udder before cooking it? He must utterly rip it. Da-da-da. He must utterly rip it. How must one tear an udder before cooking it? Rabbi Yehuda says one tears it lengthwise and widthwise. Shti ve'erev, lengthwise and widthwise. And smears it against the wall to remove all the milk. The Gemara relates that Rabbi Elazar says to his attendant, tear an udder for me before you roast it, and I will eat it. The Gemara asks, what is the episode? What is this episode teaching us? It is explicitly stated in the Mishnah that one must do this. The Gemara answers, the story teaches us that according to Rabbi Elazar, we do not require one to tear it lengthwise and widthwise and smear it against the wall. Rather, it is enough simply to tear it once, either lengthwise or widthwise. Okay. Amra le Rav Nachman. Amale. Yalta lev Nachman. Mechdi kolosu dasolan Nachman shoyelam mekavosea solan ma shoyelam kamdanida damdo. Yalta was the wife of Rabbi Nachman, Rav Nachman, and Yalta said to her husband, Rav Nachman, now as a rule, for any item that the Merciful One prohibited to us, he permitted to us a similar item. He prohibited to us the consumption of blood, yet he permitted to us the consumption of liver, which is filled with blood and retains the taste of blood. Likewise, God prohibited sexual intercourse with a menstruating woman, but permitted sexual intercourse with one's wife, while she discharges the blood of purity. Really? During a particular period after giving birth, even if she experiences a flow of blood, she is not rendered ritually impure and remains permitted to her husband by Torah law. Chelev behemo, chelev chayo, chazir mocha dishibuta, geruta lishana dicheva. Furthermore, the Torah prohibits the consumption of the forbidden fat of a domesticated animal, permitted the fat of an undomesticated animal, which has the same flavor. It is prohibited to eat pork, but one may eat the brain of shibuta fish, which has a similar taste. How would he know? Maybe he conferred with some non-Jews. How would she know, actually? This is Yalta talking here. Which has a similar taste. One may not eat giruta, a non-kosher fish, but one may eat the tongue of a fish which tastes similar. Eishes ish, grusho b'chaya bailo, eishes ach, yivoma, goyo, yivastoyo, be'enan lemechal, bisa b'chalava. Likewise, the Torah prohibits sexual intercourse with the wife of another man, but permitted one to marry a divorced woman in her previous husband's lifetime. The Torah prohibits sexual intercourse with one's brother's wife, yet it permits one to marry his yavama. If his brother's widowed, then the brother dies childless. Finally, the Torah prohibits sexual intercourse with a Gentile woman, but permitted one to marry a beautiful woman. This week's parsha is who was a prisoner of war. See Deuteronomy 21, 10-14. Yalta concluded, the Torah prohibits the consumption of meat cooked in milk. I wish to eat a dish that tastes like meat cooked in milk. Amar lahu Rav Nachman d'tabachai zivi ulekacheli yanantanan ko ahudekadea. Upon hearing this, Rav Nachman said to his cooks, roast udders on a spit of fire for her. The Gemara asks, but didn't we learn in the Mishnah that one must tear the udder first? Rav Nachman did not tell his cooks to tear the udders. The Gemara answers that that requirement was stated only with regard to cooking in a pot, not roasting. V'yakatani shibbi shuloi de'avadin chadchilala hu adin nefinu nechadchila v'yadi d'kavoi le'visi sepa keba. The Gemara asks, but isn't it taught in the Braita cited above? An udder that one cooked in its milk is permitted. An udder that one cooked in its milk is permitted. This indicates that after the fact, yes, it is permitted, but one may not roast it ab initio without tearing it. The Gemara answers the same is true even of a roasting ab initio, meaning it is permitted in the time of the bride. He uses this language since he wants to teach the letter clause. He wants to teach in the letter clause. A stomach to be continued.